Welcome to today's deep dive. We are taking on a source today that really has the potential to fundamentally alter how you look at the news, your workplace, and probably even your own family dynamics.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It really is. We are diving into excerpts from Donella H. Meadows' classic manuscript, Thinking in Systems, a primer, which was edited by Diana Wright.
Right.
And our mission today is to equip you with a completely new lens for viewing reality. Because, we spend so much of our lives pointing fingers at outside events when things go wrong, but this text argues we are actually looking in the wrong place entirely.
Completely the wrong place, yeah.
So to understand why, we need to run a really quick thought experiment. I want you to grab an imaginary Slinky.
Okay, a Slinky.
Yeah, so hold your hand upturned, let the Slinky rest there on your palm, and with your other hand, just grasp it from the top so it hangs down in midair.
Right, so it's suspended.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, pull your bottom hand away. What happens?
Well, most people would assume the whole thing just falls right to the floor. But the bottom of the Slinky drops slightly, and then it aggressively bounces back up. It sort of yo-yos up and down, suspended from your top fingers.
It bounces. Now, if I were to ask what made the Slinky bounce, the immediate instinct is to say, well, my hand caused the bounce. I removed my hand, so it bounced.
Right. You think you are the catalyst.
Yeah. But let's run a second experiment to test that. Imagine picking up the empty cardboard box that the Slinky came in. You hold it the exact same way, one hand on top, resting on your bottom palm, and you pull that bottom hand away.
And, well, the box just plummets. There's no bounce, no yo-yo, just a thud on the floor.
Right. But you did the exact same thing to the box that you did to the Slinky. You removed your hand. So why is there this radically different behavior?
Because the answer lies entirely within the Slinky itself. The hand doesn't actually cause the bounce. The hand just releases the behavior that's already latent within the physical structure of the spring.
Oh.
Yeah, and that is really the core insight of Meadows' work. Systems cause their own behavior.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because realizing that the Slinky is causing its own bounce, it completely upends how we're taught to solve problems. We are heavily, heavily conditioned into a reductionist way of thinking.
Very much so.
Meaning we assume that if we just break a complex machine down to its smallest parts or isolate a single event, we can understand it and control it. Like we catch a cold and we blame the flu virus.
Great. Gas prices go up and we blame OPEC.
Exactly. The economy tanks and we blame whoever the current political leader is. We are just endlessly searching for the outside force to blame.
Yeah, we look for a simple cause and effect. But the text argues that we actually set up the structural conditions for the flu to flourish in our bodies through, stress or lack of sleep.
Right, the system of our body.
Exactly. And it argues that economies create their own vulnerability to oil prices based on decades of how they choose to consume and invest. The market structures themselves have these up and down cycles inherently built into their architecture.
So the structure is the spring.
Yes. An outside event might trigger a reaction, like removing your hand from the Slinky. But that same outside event, applied to a totally different system, produces a completely different result.
So, to understand why a system causes its own behavior, we first have to define what a system actually is. Because it's a word we throw around a lot, but a system is not just a pile of stuff, right?
No, not at all. A system is an interconnected set of elements that is coherently organized in a way that achieves something. For it to be a true system, the text outlines 3 mandatory requirements.
Okay, what are they?
It must have elements, it must have interconnections, and it must have a function or a purpose.
Elements, interconnections, and purpose. So if I accidentally scatter like a pile of sand on the side of the road, I don't have a system.
No, you have a conglomeration. If you add a bucket of sand to that pile or sweep some away, its fundamental nature doesn't change. It is still just sand on a road. But contrast that with a living creature, or a football team, or even your own digestive tract. Those possess what Meadows calls systemness. If you arbitrarily pull players off a football field or remove pieces of a digestive tract, the entity dissipates. It loses its wholeness.
You can't just sweep away a piece of a digestive system and expect it to work like the sand.
Exactly. The behavior of a system cannot be known just by knowing the elements it's made of. The text actually uses the ancient Sufi story of the blind man and the elephant to illustrate this blind spot.
Oh, right, where each blind man touches a different part of the elephant to figure out what it is.
Yeah, exactly. One touches the ear and assumes an elephant is like a wide, rough rug. Another feels the trunk and declares it's a hollow pipe. A third feels the leg and thinks it's a pillar.
But they're missing the whole picture.
Right. They're all touching the elements, but because they can't perceive the whole, they misunderstand the entity entirely.
I want to try an analogy here to see if I'm grasping the division between these components. If the elements are, say, the raw ingredients of a cake, like the flour, the sugar, the raw eggs, would the interconnections be the actual chemical baking process?
Yeah.
Because if I just stare at a bowl of raw eggs and flour, I have absolutely no intuitive way of knowing they are capable of becoming a fluffy cake. Are we just spending too much time staring at the trees and missing the forest?
That captures it perfectly. And it really highlights a critical vulnerability in how we observe the world. The elements, the flour and eggs, or the trees in a forest, the students in a school, the tangible physical things, those are the easiest parts to see. We hyper-focus on them.
Because they're right in front of us.
Right. But the true behavior of the system is driven by the things that are almost completely invisible to us, which are the interconnections and the underlying purpose.
Okay, so if the elements are the easy part, how to spot the invisible interconnections? What do they actually look like in practice?
Well, often they operate through the flow of information. The text uses the biology of a tree as an example. We can easily spot the leaves and the roots. But the interconnections are the invisible physical flows and chemical signals communicated between them.
Like a hidden dialogue.
Exactly. On a sunny day, when a tree's leaves lose water, the drop in internal pressure sends a physical signal down to the roots to pull in more water.
Wow.
And if those roots encounter dry soil, that loss of pressure sends a signal back up to the leaves to close their pores so the tree doesn't desiccate.
So the system is constantly talking to itself to regulate its behavior.
Yes, information flow is the glue. Or consider a university. The formal elements are the syllabus in the classrooms. But the informed flow of information, like gossip among students about a specific professor's brutal grading curve.
Oh, yeah, we've all relied on that gossip.
Right. That gossip becomes a powerful interconnection that dictates whether a class fills up or remains totally empty.
Okay, so if information is the glue holding the elements together, who or what is deciding what shape that glue is trying to build? And I guess that brings us to the third requirement, purpose.
And what's fascinating here is how systems thinking completely redefines purpose. A system's purpose is rarely what it says it is. Purpose is deduced entirely from behavior.
Not what it says it is.
Right? Not from a corporate mission statement, not from a political speech, but from the raw output of what the system actually does.
So we have to judge the machine by what it produces, not the label slapped on the side of it.
Exactly. If you observe a frog, and it turns left and catches a fly, then it turns right and catches a fly, then it jumps backward and catches a fly, you wouldn't conclude that the frog's purpose is turning around.
Right.
Its actions reveal its goal, which is catching flies. Now apply that to human institutions. If a government loudly proclaims its primary interest is protecting the environment, but it allocates barely a fraction of a percent of its budget toward that goal, then environmental protection is not its purpose.
Wow. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Systems are nested inside of other systems, right? The text explores this concept of subpurposes, which kind of seems to explain why so many of our institutions feel completely broken.
Yeah, subpurposes are huge.
Going back to your university example, the overarching stated purpose of a university is to discover knowledge and pass it on. But inside that system, every individual element has its own subpurpose. Like, the student's subpurpose might just be to get a high GPA to impress an employer.
Right, they just want the job.
Exactly. The professor's subpurpose is to publish papers to secure tenure. The administrator's subpurpose is to cut costs and balance the budget. Is this how we end up with massive societal messes where no one is actually acting maliciously, but the system still fails?
It is the exact architecture of those messes.
Yeah.
Any one of those subpurposes can easily conflict with the main goal of passing on knowledge. The student resorts to cheating to secure the GPA. The professor neglects undergraduate lectures to focus on their research paper. The administrator fires the most experienced, expensive professors to save money.
So everyone is doing their job, but the whole thing falls apart.
Exactly. And the text actually provides a very stark, objective breakdown of this, using the system of drug addiction and drug-related crime.
Oh, this is a heavy one.
It is, but it's essential. Because no single actor in that web wakes up intending to produce a society plagued by rampant addiction and violence. But look at how the subpurposes physically interconnect.
Walk us through the mechanics of that loop. How does it lock together?
Well, you start with desperate individuals whose subpurpose is to seek quick relief from psychological or physical pain. And then you have dealers and illicit supply chains whose subpurpose is to earn profit. So the addict buys the drug, the dealer makes money. Simple enough.
Right, and then the government steps in.
Exactly. Now introduce the government. The government's sub-purpose is to maintain order and eradicate illegal substances. So they use police power to crack down on the dealers and seize shipments.
Which restricts the supply of the drug on the street.
Yes. Restricting supply while demand remains high causes the street price of the drug to skyrocket. Now, the dealer still wants their profit margin, so they charge the higher price. But the addict's sub-purpose relieving their pain hasn't changed. They still need the drug, but now it costs 3 times as much.
So they can't afford it.
Right. And to fund this newly expensive habit, the addict is forced to turn to burglary or theft.
So the crime rate goes up.
A crime rate spikes. And this triggers the sub-purpose of the non-addicted citizens who demand self-protection. They pressure the government for a harsher police crackdown. The police seize more drugs, driving the supply down further, driving the price up higher, forcing the addicts to commit even more crime.
It's a spiral.
It is. Meanwhile, wealthy citizens whose sub-purpose is to maintain distance from the problem just move away, taking their tax dollars with them, defunding the social programs that might have helped the addicts in the first place.
That is wild. Every single person in that loop is acting entirely rationally, according to their own local sub-purpose. But combined, they architect a vicious feedback loop that actively generates more crime and more addiction.
Yeah, the overall system behavior is something nobody actually wants, but it is the mathematically guaranteed result of those specific interconnections.
Hold on, though. If a system like that is so deeply entrenched by invisible rules and conflicting purposes, why is our default societal solution always to just fire the people in charge and bring in new people?
It's a great question.
I mean, we spend endless news cycles obsessing over who the next tech CEO will be or who is going to win the next presidential election. Are you telling me that swapping out the visible players doesn't actually fix the system?
The text calls this the political illusion. Changing the physical elements of the people has the absolute least effect on a system.
Wait, really? The least effect?
The least. Think about the human body. Your body replaces the vast majority of its cellular elements every few weeks. The physical parts are entirely swapped out, but your body maintains its exact identity and behavior.
That's a good point.
Or a university. It constantly graduates its student body and brings in new ones, but the culture and output of the university remain largely identical.
So a new CEO or a new president steps into the Slinky box and realizes they don't have the power to stop the bounce.
Precisely. Historically, swapping a leader at the top of a massive hierarchy, going from a Brezhnev to a Gorbachev or a Carter to a Reagan, it rarely pivots a nation as quickly as the public expects.
Because the system is still the same.
Exactly. The new leader inherits an incredibly dense web of slow-changing elements. The agricultural yields, the miles of physical railway, the sprawling bureaucratic departments, the entrenched geopolitical alliances, and the daily habits of hundreds of millions of people do not change just because the person at the podium changed.
What actually forces a system to change them? If changing the leader doesn't work, what does?
True change only occurs when you alter the interconnections, or the purpose. If you keep the exact same players on a field, but you change the rules of interconnection, from the rules of football to the rules of basketball, you completely destroy the old system and create a new one.
Oh, I see.
Or, if you keep the same rules, but change the purpose, say the players agree they are now playing to lose instead of playing to win, the system's behavior fundamentally transforms. Leaders get trapped because it's politically easy to swap out a person, but it is monumentally difficult to rewrite the deep-rooted relationships and hidden purposes of a sprawling society.
That makes me wonder about the physical resistance of these systems. Why are those massive societal elements, the factories, the bureaucracies, so stubborn? Why do they resist the new rules so much?
To understand the physical resistance of a system, we really have to look at the mathematical reality of how things operate over time. The text refers to this as the dynamics of stocks and flows.
Stocks and flows.
Yeah, you can think of it as Bathtub's 101.
Okay, let's explore the bathtub. What exactly is a stock?
A stock is the foundation of any system. It's an accumulation of material or information that is built up over time. It is essentially the memory of the history of the system.
The memory of the system.
Right. So the water in a bathtub is a stock. The wood in a forest is a stock. The money in your bank account is a stock. It can even be intangible, like your own self-confidence is a stock that accumulates or depletes.
And the flows are the mechanisms changing that stock.
Yes. Flows are the filling and draining, births and deaths, deposits and withdrawals. And the rules governing them are absolute. If the inflow is greater than the outflow, the stock rises. If the outflow is greater than the inflow, the stock falls.
And if they match?
If the inflow exactly equals the outflow, the stock achieves dynamic equilibrium. So the water is constantly moving, but the level in the tub stays perfectly flat.
Okay, that sounds incredibly basic, I won't lie. Why is bathtub math a revelation?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it exposes a massive cognitive blind spot. The human mind is heavily biased to focus on stocks. We easily see the water level, we check our bank balance, but we are terrible at intuitively grasping flows.
We just look at the accumulation.
Right. And when we do attempt to manage flows, we almost exclusively focus on inflows while completely ignoring outflows.
We only look at the faucet and we completely ignore the drain.
That's it, exactly. Consider a global energy crisis. When a nation faces an oil shortage, the immediate public and political demand is to discover new oil deposits or drill more wells.
Right, get more oil.
Increase the inflow. It is remarkably difficult for people to internalize that a massive breakthrough in energy efficiency, insulating homes better, building lighter cars, thereby decreasing the outflow, has the exact same mathematical effect on the stock of available oil.
It's the same result in the tub.
Exactly. Or observe corporate culture. To grow a company's workforce, management's aggressive first instinct is a massive hiring push. Very rarely do they allocate the same budget and energy toward reducing the rate at which current employees quit.
So what does this all mean? We're constantly working twice as hard to fight the math. It is exactly like personal finance.
Yeah.
If you want more money in your bank account, just your stock, your very first instinct is usually, oh, I need to ask for a raise, or I need to start a side hustle. You immediately try to force the inflow higher.
Right. You reach for the faucet.
But this text is basically screaming at us that it is mathematically identical and often significantly easier to just go into your credit card statement and cancel 5 unused streaming subscriptions. Slow down the outflow.
Exactly. There is always more than one way to fill a bathtub, but our bias prevents us from utilizing the drain.
Why does this bias matter on a macro level, though? Like, if we misunderstand stocks and ignore outflows, what is the consequence for our society?
The consequence is that we completely misjudge the speed of reality. Stocks take time to change because flows take time to flow.
Okay.
You can reach into a full bathtub and rip the drain plug out instantly, but the water level still drops slowly. The tub doesn't empty the second you change the rule. In any complex system, stocks act as delays, buffers, and shock absorbers.
Oh, because you can't bypass the physical reality of time. I mean, an economy cannot instantly build functioning semiconductor factories just because a politician signed a bill demanding them.
Right. Building a factory is a slow flow adding to the stock of infrastructure. Similarly, harmful pollutants in the ozone layer took decades to accumulate from our industrial outflows. Even if we completely turn off the faucet of pollution today, it will take decades of natural atmospheric outflows to clear that stock.
That's sobering.
Changes in stocks set the unalterable pace of a system's dynamics. You cannot force a forest to grow overnight, no matter how badly you want the timber.
So if you are a leader, or honestly even just a person trying to improve your own life, running face first into those time delays has to be incredibly demoralizing.
It is the source of immense frustration, but there is a profound silver lining here. These time lags and buffers aren't just annoying roadblocks. They are the full reason our world has any stability.
Stability? How so?
Well, the fact that stocks are slow to change is what prevents all the topsoil from eroding in a single afternoon rainstorm. It means a population that has accumulated the stock of a complex skill doesn't forget it immediately if the education system has a bad year.
Oh, I see.
These buffers give us room to maneuver. They grant us the time to experiment, to observe a new policy, realize the flows are off, and revise it before the entire system collapses.
So the system lens is ultimately about recalibrating your expectations. If you understand the rates of change of your stocks, you stop expecting things to happen faster than physics allows. You don't get disillusioned and give up 3 weeks into a new initiative because you don't see instant results. Like a judo expert mentioned in the text, once you can actually see the flows, the stocks, and the delayed momentum of the Slinky, you stop exhausting your energy trying to fight against it.
Yes. You learn to leverage the system's inherent momentum to achieve your own goals, rather than exhausting yourself. Which really brings us to an important question for anyone listening today.
Let's hear it.
Think about a frustrating, stubborn system in your own life right now. It could be a dysfunctional dynamic at your workplace, or maybe a recurring argument within your family. Stop looking at the visible players. Stop blaming your boss or your sibling. And honestly, stop listening to the stated goals of what everyone claims they're trying to achieve.
Ignore the labels.
Ignore them. Look purely at the behavior. Based on what that system actually produces, day in and day out, what is the hidden purpose it is perfectly designed to achieve? And more importantly, using your new bathtub logic, what is the one outflow you could slow down today to start gradually changing the water level?
You have to stop staring at the Slinky box, wondering why it won't bounce. The answer isn't the box, and it isn't your hand. The answer has always been hidden in the invisible structure of the spring. We hope this new lens helps you spot the interconnections in your own life. Keep an eye on your bathtubs. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.